To carry her onto the ship. She weighed 50 pounds, a tiny woman barely 4 feet 3 inches tall, so frail a strong wind could have carried her off. Her name was Charlotte Moon, though everyone called her Lottie, and for nearly 40 years she had poured out her life on the far side of the world. Now a famine had swept through her corner of China, and Lottie had done the only thing her heart would let her do. She gave away her food. She gave away her money. And when her fellow missionaries finally understood what was happening, they discovered that the woman who had fed so many was quietly starving to death. Welcome and lift up your day, a daily 5-minute devotional, short stories with a biblical heartbeat. I'm Rodney, and today, a tiny woman, a terrible famine, and a seed that fell into the ground and would not stay buried. Lottie Moon was not what anyone in 1840 expected out of a Virginia plantation girl. She was brilliant. She earned one of her first master's degrees ever granted to a woman in the South. She was fluent in 5 languages. She could have done almost anything in her life, and what she chose to do was to sail to China at the age of 33 to tell people about Jesus, and she never really came home again. For nearly 4 decades, she taught, she spoke, she translated, and she loved the people of China as her own. And she wrote letter after letter, back to the mission board in Richmond, begging them to send more workers, more support. The need was overwhelming, and the workers were few. But the board was buried in debt and could not send anything. Her pleas seemed to vanish into silence. Then came the famine. People were dying in the streets all around her, so Lottie opened up her own pantry and emptied her own purse, and she gave until there was nothing left to give, including her own meals. Her worn-out body finally gave way. Alarmed, the younger missionaries put her on a ship bound for home, praying the journey might save her. It was too late. On Christmas Eve of 1912, in the harbor of Kobe, Japan, with a missionary nurse at her side, Lottie Moon slipped away. Through that last long night, she kept rousing to whisper the words of an old children's hymn. We are weak, but he is strong. And at the very end, she lifted her thin hands in the Chinese greeting she loved. She smiled, and she was gone. She was 72 years old. And here is the part she never knew. Those letters she felt had fallen on deaf ears, had quietly planted a seed. The women of her church had started a small Christmas offering to fund missions, and after she died, they put her name on it. That offering, the Lottie Moon Christmas offering, has now raised more than $5 billion to carry the gospel around the world. $5 billion. And Lottie never saw a single dime of it. Jesus once said something that explains a life like hers. Unless a grain of wheat falls into the ground and dies, it remains alone. But if it dies, it produces much grain. A seed has to be buried before it can ever multiply. Lottie Moon was that seed. She fell on the ground on Christmas Eve far from home, perhaps wondering if her work had amounted to much at all. And out of that one buried life came a harvest she could never have imagined. So whatever you are pouring out today that feels unseen and unrewarded, take heart. God keeps a different set of books. The seed you bury in faith is never wasted. It is simply being planted. And that, friend, is how God lifts up your day.